This is the instructional how-to video for the Demrew Girma trailer. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name incorrect. I'm going to be able to show you the operations of your brand new concession. Here in your 36-inch access door, we have the power cord coming out. I just ran out the door to hold the door open. As you can see, it's plugged into my shore power itself, but naturally you would plug it or put it through this cable hatch hole here. Little door comes off. Be able to close up once done. Extended tongue for your generator if you choose to use one. Got your awning extended out. Exterior lights on. Flip up counter. Once you get to 90 degrees, press upward and allows the pins to roll out and engage. Go ahead and go over the water itself. You have your non-pressure side, which feeds the freshwater tank itself. If you want to use the water pump, this would be the side you would use. Again, non-pressure side port here. I'm bypassing the pump and tank and using the pressurized side, feeding water directly in. For the wastewater, remove the cap. It is a 3-inch RV waste hose that will hook up to this port here. This handle will pull out of the way and release the contents from the wastewater tank into the approved container. Once that is completely drained, you will close that back up, remove the hose, and put the cap back on for transportation. Going to show you your outlets working. Going inside the trailer, start on the passenger side rear wall. Plug next to the concession window. Passenger side V-nose, driver's side V-nose, plug below the view window, so this is your battery charger for the 12-volt lighting system. This is your fuse panel, as you see the fuses here, for the 12-volt lighting system and water pump. And then you have your 100 amp panel, all 20 amp independent circuits located here in your upper cabinet. Got your single convection oven and your 4-burner hot plate. Also got the plug above the hot plate itself. kind of step back and let you see everything as walking inward. Water pump switch located here. Again, I'm bypassing the freshwater tank and water pump. Hand wash sink faucet. And your 3-bin sink drain boards. Freshwater tank. You have your winterization valve, the blowout valve here. You have your freshwater tank drain valve here. You got your water filter, your water pump, and also your valve right there for the closing off the freshwater tank itself for winterization purposes. Water heater located here. You can see the orange light on, still indicating it is heating the water up. We'll check it here shortly. So we're going to go over the gas itself. What you want to do is make sure you have these control knobs in the off position. Also, you have your drip pan for any spillover. You'll see that I have the burners wire tied in place for transit. Eventually, due to excessive heat, this will break and will need to be replaced with more metal wire. Other than that, leave the metal wire on there so that you do not have to worry about the burners in transit itself. This unit is in the off position currently. Same thing for the burner itself, which you'll see here in a second. We are going to turn the exhaust fan switch on here in just a moment, but I want to go ahead and show you the fire suppression system. We have the control head, and above we have the tank. This system is live and ready to go. You will need to have your local fire suppression company as well as your local fire marshal come out and tag and certify the system. These nozzles are set in place for the equipment that it is covering. The filters are removable and will need to be cleaned periodically due to how much grease might be in the air from what you're cooking. You will need to clean those with hot water and a mild soap or a mild detergent, rinse thoroughly, and allow adequate time for them to air dry. Simply push out of the way to one side or the other. You will see it is removable. Those sensors are heat sensors that nobody other than a licensed fire suppression company needs to tamper with. When you put the filters back in place, do not leave a gap like this. You want to close the gap as minimal as possible so you do not have any grease going up into the fan housing. The fan housing above will need to be monitored on quarterly visits starting out to make sure proper function and no grease buildup in the extraction fan. What grease does not collect in these filters goes to the drip tray, runs to the drip cup. I would monitor that daily as well. So we'll go ahead and turn the exhaust fan switch on. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and turn the gas on at the tank itself. And I'm going to close the door for a moment because I want to stress the emphasis on, so we know the equipment is in the off position. We got the extraction fan on. We have the concession window open, allowing fresh air to come in. So the most important thing at this startup is when this valve is turned that quarter turn, pressurizing this line. You should hear the line pressurize and it'll be nothing more than shh itself. If you hear continuous gas flow running through this regulator, immediately shut this valve off. Contact your local gas company to come out and inspect the piping below. I mention this because this piping runs down through the floor and hugs the frame of the trailer. Driving down the road, interstate, back roads, city roads, whatever it may be, any road debris that is potentially hit that you might not even know about, rocks, blocks of wood, tires, anything of that sort, hitting that pipe will damage and bust the pipe. So at your initial startup, the most important thing you can do is pay attention to this regulator. Once you turn this valve on, and you might be able to hear it in this video, it's very faint. It's nothing more than shh. That line is pressurized and it's good to go. If we had gas flow going through here, we would shut this off. We'd have the gas company come out here and inspect this. Once you go inside, you'll need lighters like this. You will leave these in the off position until your pilot lights are lit. You're going to go to each pilot light as you see that I'm doing here. Each one of them has to be lit. That's how you properly light your 4-burner. And again, you can see the excessive heat over time is going to make this wire eventually break, and that's fine. Just replace it with more metal. I use a baling wire, a metal baling wire you can get at any hardware store. Just make sure that once you're done with the burners, turn them off to the position they are. But again, always indicate and make sure that periodically through the day that those pilots are still good to go before you just turn that handle on and walk away, because that would be an excessive amount of gas. The convection oven is a little different. You will turn the power switch on. I start at 350, and it will be a self-ignite setup. So it has its own igniter that's built in. If you want to run it at 500, choose to do so, that's perfectly fine. Anything for igniting itself is perfectly fine. The paperwork is going to tell you that it's going to need to be ran for approximately, I believe, an hour to season it in. Again, take the time to read over the paperwork for not only the convection oven, but also the 4-burner hot plate itself for proper maintenance and cleaning purposes. While that is heating up, I'm going to go ahead and test the water and see where that's at, as it will take just a moment for that oven to heat up. So 118 and still climbing. Plenty good enough for the hot water itself. Also, I do want to mention, before I ever plugged that hot water in, I had continuous water flow not only here, but also on this faucet as well, before I ever plugged that hot water heater in. Might need to turn it up to, I'm going to turn it up to 500, see if we can get that temperature inside to make the glass, I guess, fog up, so to speak, like it did before while in testing. Possibly might not be able to show it on this video, but I'll be able to show it in person. That way you can see that it does heat up itself. You do not want to run this convection oven without that hood fan on. Well, either one of these pieces, actually. Obviously, propane needs to be ran. That way odors and gases pull it out. But especially this unit, because the burnt off propane is in this downdraft system that you had wanted. And so it's pulling over. So definitely as much fresh air as you can have coming in is going to be helpful to allow those fumes to push outward. Propane, burnt propane, produces a carbon monoxide, which is a deadly gas. So and you got your light switch here. I can turn to a low fan, or I can turn to a high fan. You got your manual timer itself. I don't know if you can see the heat coming off. I can see it barely in the actual video itself. We'll go ahead and turn this portion off. Again, it's not going to change the moisture of the glass itself. But that's how you properly light your equipment. As long as you have adequate power, you can run your AC unit, which I've been running this whole time. Just make sure that you have the amount of power that's needed to be able to run that. Once you are done, immediately shut that gas off. Never leave the gas on overnight or in transportation. That is a very dangerous and not recommended thing to do. Once your gas is off, I would leave the fan on for a little bit longer on depending on what you're cooking. Again, because of the gases coming out of the vent, I haven't had it on long enough for this video itself. And also make sure that you turn this control knob to the off position as well. And a step ladder really helps in this situation. As you can see, it needs to be back to the off position because your interior height is so tall. For your flip up counter here, pulling upward allows that counter to go back down to a stationary and transport position, just like the counter that is on the outside of the trailer itself. Make sure you close those cabinet doors up. Any loose items that are on your counters, make sure that you put those in a safe area for transportation purposes. For closing the awning, it's very simple. You will press this button here, and as you will see in the video, it retracts in on its own through this switch. Now, the awnings are great for situations like today. Sunshade itself, but nothing else. No rain, no wind, no storms, no snow, no hurricanes, nothing other than sunshade itself is recommended. Once that is closed up, you can let off that switch, and then you have your interior and exterior light switches also. You'll be able to shut the door, latch the bar lock, and be able to lock it up. Of course, being able to do the same thing here for the side railing. Your rear railing is removable, and we would encourage that pins are put on each side. We'll provide pins. That way, for transportation, you need to have those there. As we always recommend, make sure that you have your turn signals, running lights, and brake lights always functioning before each and every time in transit. Same thing for wheels and tires. The lug nuts are going to be torqued at 120 foot-pounds of torque per lug nut. Make sure that you have adequate air pressure in your tires. Once a year, this cap will need to be removed, and there is a rubber cap behind this that will need to be removed to access the grease zert fitting on each wheel. That way you can be able to apply grease to the bearings and promote long-lasting bearing life. It needs to be done at least once a year. If you'd like to do more than once a year, please do so. Same thing with flip up counter. Pressing upward allows that to roll back to a fixed position, and then being able to close and latch the doors, again providing pin or lock, at least in one side for sure. Thank you for taking the time to watch this instructional video. I make these videos to help educate the customers that have never operated this equipment before, how to properly do it so that it is safe by all means. Also, to be able to show the customer their product before they arrive here to pick up or before it is delivered. If you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at any time. We'll be glad to assist in any way. Regardless if it's 5 years, 10 years from now, we'll be glad to help in any way. We thank you so much for your business and wish you the very best.